ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. In this second chapter, third Valli, we had seen mantras 2 and 3, which spoke about the presence of Ishvara and how it is by the fear of that Ishvara that the fire, the sun, Indra, Vayu, and even Mrityu, all of them, as though they are performing their actions. So the objective here is to be able to understand that your consciousness, which is the creator also, and that consciousness is not only as the creator, it is also in the hearts of all. And this human birth is the special opportunity. So the fourth mantra spoke about that. We had just seen the literal meaning. We will go deeper today. Tacha. So Shankaracharya has given the connection that if I know this Ishvara, then Punarjanma stops. If I don't know this Ishvara in this life, this Punarjanma continues. Iha chedashakad bodhum praksharirasya visrasaha tata sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. So he says here, Iha chet, here and now, while living in this life, ashakat bodhum, if one doesn't know praksharirasya visrasaha, before this body drops, sorry, iha ched ashakat bodhum, meaning if one knows here and now, ashakat means knows, not does not know. Ashakat is past tense. So if one knows here and now, before the body drops, then that is the best. Praksharirasya visrasaha. Tata sargeshu lokeshu. If one doesn't know, then in this creation, one goes through various lokas and then sharirattvaya kalpate. One will take many bodies. So that is what this mantra says. The importance of human life, the importance of the present moment and the purushartha. This mantra is for that we have the capability to realize that pure consciousness, which is the source of this whole creation, which is our true self. So he says here, Iha Jivan Eva Chet, while living here itself. So this is the uniqueness of Vedanta. Jivan Mukti. While living here, we realize that oneness with the absolute consciousness. In Hindu culture also there are various philosophies. They don't speak about Jivan Mukti. Then in Vedanta itself there are three, not three, more than three, but three main ones that we know. Dvait Vedant, Vishishta Advait Vedant, Advait Vedant. In that only Advait Vedant speaks about Jivan Mukti. Dvait Vedant says there is no Jivan Mukti. You are always eternal servant of God, so duality is real. You can only be a servant of God. So one goes up to the loka of the Lord and remains there as a servant. Even if one manifests here, one will continue as a servant of the Lord. Or Vishishta Advaita also says you are never one with the Lord, you are a part of the Lord only. So what qualities he has in whole, you have in part. And you continue to live with those. But Advaita Vedanta says that is only Upadhi. If you drop this attachment to the Upadhi, then one can realize the self. Essentially, the Jiva and Ishvara are one. That is Advaita Vedanta. That is called Jivan Mukti. And that is what is given here. That Iha, the word Iha means Jivan Eva. While living here, not after death. Moksha is while living here. Ched yad ashakat shaknoti shaktaha. So this is to say the urgency. Shaktaha means capable. So human being has that capability. What is the qualification required to know? That we have seen earlier also. Drishyate tu agraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshma darshibhi. And agra buddhi, sukshma buddhi is required. Sharp and subtle intellect is required. Pure mind is required. Then one will know the truth. So human being has the capability. Here is the opportunity. So the urgency is that realize it now, because if one doesn't know, again another birth. Think about that, how much pain and which birth, where, what form, complete uncertainty. You see, this human life, it is very fascinating to see the contradictions in which we all live as human beings. Now, just think, uncertainty is one cause of stress, right? One doesn't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And COVID situation has brought so much more uncertainty. As it is, future is uncertain, but at least there was some, security, some normality was there. Now that is also gone. One doesn't know what happens next. There is a lot of fear, there's a lot of insecurity because of the uncertainty. For a student, one doesn't know what the result will come. That uncertainty brings stress. So one aspect is uncertainty outside, other aspect is dependency on the result inside. Both these will create the stress. But how strange it is that when I drop this body, what I will become, where will I go, whether I will exist, not exist, what is my true nature, none of these questions bother the human being, though this is completely uncertain. No stress at all. Why? Because I am just ignoring this. So if I don't think about it at all, I want to run away from these questions, or I want to escape and engage myself in doing something so-called meaningful in this world without striving for liberation. So I'm postponing, I'm going away from this. So then there is no stress, there is no fear, there is no insecurity. And some people to 100% have come to a wrong conclusion also, that there is no life only after this body. There was no previous birth, there is no next birth. In that ignorance, one is so comfortable, one doesn't want to think further. But that is like a cat, like a pigeon closing the eyes and hoping that this cat which is there will not attack it and kill it. That is not going to happen. I can just close my eyes and think that there is no past life, there is no previous life, there is no next life. So the fact is a fact. Mrityu comes one day, then what happens? No, there's no next life at all. Then there is everything is random. No, not at all. So uncertainty is there because I am escaping. Uncertainty is not being felt because I am escaping, or because I have concluded wrongly and I am steeped in that ignorance, or somebody who has great knowledge and realize the truth. For that person, there is no uncertainty. These are the only possibilities. So the great masters, they say, right now while living here itself, come to awaken to that self which is immortal, indestructible, imperishable. Because again, next life, when, what happens, no idea. Life is a continuity. There is no doubt about that. Law of cause and effect works. And a lot of other earlier logic also we have seen that there is no question of only one life. There is a continuity. So now when I know there is a continuity, here is one golden chance. One sadhu used to give this example that there was this person who was put in a prison. Some karma that person did, the person was imprisoned. It's a huge prison, huge cell, and this person is there in that. There is one door. If you reach that door, you can go out. So this prisoner is blinded. There is no light. You can't see anything. Absolutely pitch dark, completely dark. So you can't see anything at all, as though he's blinded. Now, how will this person know where is the door? And it's such a huge place. So he uses both his hands on the ground and he keeps moving. And finally he comes toward the wall. So he gets up, he stands up. Now he sees the wall he feels the wall is there. Goes on touching and moving. As he is moving, at that, for a quite some time he kept moving. And then just as he came to the door, suddenly he felt something itching. So now he is, with both his hands, is scratching his back, but he's moving. Skipped the door and went. The sadhu used to give this example to say that this world is like that prison. This world meaning this whole universe is like that prison. And the one door to get liberation is this human body. And this human body has the itch of desire. And this human being goes on itching. Goes on scratching that. And when it is itching, the more you scratch, the more satisfaction also comes. So one wants to scratch more. But the more scratching one does, more pain also it is. The desire is like that. So trapped in desire, one is using this opportunity not very wisely. Actually, one is losing it. That's why he says, here, right now, living itself. The urgency he shows here that do this now, don't postpone it. Iha jivan eva ched ashakat shaknoti shaktaha. And when I am capable, I should do it while I am capable. Shaktaha. Meaning when the body is fit and fine, strive to realize the truth that time, not postpone later on. For so many people, it is a post-retirement plan. while the body is strong, because this requires maximum strength, maximum thinking, subtlety is required, purity of heart is required, control on the senses is required, control on the body is required, long hours of contemplation are required. How much more stamina this requires? Any other thing is much more easy to do because I'm engaging all my senses. Here I have to withdraw from senses, withdraw from the mind, withdraw from intellect, withdraw from this whole body identification, and then absorb in samadhi and keep practicing that samadhi for quite some time. Most demanding is this. And people think this is a path for the escapist and for the dejected, depressed, despondent people who can't achieve anything in the world, who want to exploit people in the name of spirituality. This kind of people take to religion. What all confusions are there? But this is most demanding path, and hence while one is capable, one is young, that time one should do it. Should not postpone. So, Shaktaha. Iha जीवन एव चेत यद अशक्तः शक्नोति शक्तः संजानाति etad abhaya karanam brahma. Comes to know the cause of fearlessness, this Brahman. So while living here, no matter what I achieve from in the world outside, it has its own relevance, it has its own limited utility value, no denial of that. But having got a human birth, if I have not overcome fear, if I have not overcome sorrow, and if I have not overcome delusion, then human life I have not used well. Bhaya and shoka, fear and sorrow, they are caused by what? Moha, delusion. Delusion that I am the body will cause fear and sorrow. If I get what I wanted, I have fear of losing it. And if I don't get what I wanted, I have sorrow. And when I actually lose it, then again I'll end up in sorrow. So either ways, my experience is fear and sorrow. And that moha is caused because of ajnan. I don't know who am I. Hence this knowledge of the self, that's why he says Brahman, Karanam Brahma, Abhaya Karanam Brahma. If I realize that Brahman, then all fear gone. Why? Because only ignorance of this self is causing the delusion that I am the body, and then I feel limited. So I'm chasing the limited and trying to grab them and hold on to them. But if I realize I am Brahman, infinite pure consciousness which is appearing as this whole universe, not one universe, multitudes of them. So then there is no fear at all, absolute fearlessness, because all cause of fear is gone. Ignorance is destroyed. The nature of Brahman is that pure consciousness which is one, infinite. Where is the cause of fear? If there is two, there is fear. Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati. The Taittiriya Upanishad said that. But there is no duality in that. So absolutely no cause of fear. That fearless state one can realize. Abhaya pratishtham vindate while living here. So many great masters, they have lived like that. Absolute fearlessness. No fear of death also, and they can drop the body at will also, and even if it drops by prarabdha somehow, it doesn't matter to them. They live in such fearlessness, such attitude of no compromise, and one has realized the absolute. Free. While living here itself, they roam about free. You just think one fear we come out of, how liberated we feel. And here it is absolute fearlessness. Doesn't mean they become reckless. They live in that state of fearlessness where every single moment they are truly living. We are not truly living. We are living as projected by our mind. If the mind likes something, then good. If mind doesn't like something, we suffer. We live completely conditioned by the mind. One who has gone beyond the mind, how that person lives moment by moment, that person lives in the experience of the divine every moment. That is actually called living in the present. They live in the present fully, 100% they live in present. We attempt to live in present now and then. Half the time it is in past and future only. So freedom and fearlessness, these masters, they experience because of this. Abhaya karanam brahma, bodhum avagantum, prag purvam sharirasya visrasaha avasramsanat patanat samsara bandhanat vimuchyate. Before this body drops, he says, you get free from the bandhan of samsara. What is samsara? Samyak sarati, that which constantly slips, which I can't grasp, which I cannot hold on to. But that is what one is trying to do. That which is changing, I'm trying to hold on to that for the changeless happiness. It is impossible. The faster one realizes, the faster one stops grasping. We have no control at all on anything. No? Where do we have any control? There is an illusion of control. On our body, mind, intellect only, we don't have control. This itself is changing so fast that we can't stop the change here. And the thing is, if the change here stops, this will die. Because anything that stagnates will die. Water that stagnates, all kinds of, mosquitoes and all that start growing in that. So we don't have control on our BMI. Without having control on one body, mind, intellect, we are trying to control other body, minds and intellects. Other people in our life, the children and the spouse and the siblings and relatives and whatnot. How will there be permanent happiness? How will there be a experience of peace? Each one trying to control the other. Then klesha only will happen. Then one says, oh, we are getting grinded in this samsara. So then that is what will happen to us. When we try to control somebody else, we have no control on ourselves. Uncontrolled people trying to control other people who are also not in control. All uncontrolled people trying to control each other. How strange is that samsara? He says, get free from this samsara. Samsara bandhana vimuchyate. Because that person has realized that changeless self. That's the only solution here. To know absolute self. If one doesn't want to know absolute self, one wants to continue in this way, that one can continue. Nobody is denying. Live. The day Vairagya comes saying, enough, what am I trying to do here? It makes no sense at all. Nowadays, people have started using that expression. Now, quite a few years now. People, if you say something, then they will respond to you like, makes sense. Initially, when somebody used to tell me like that, I used to feel, oh, they are now thinking that, yeah, it makes sense. Meaning they are approving that, yes, what you are saying is logical, it makes sense to me. That earlier it was not making sense. Now it is making sense. Anyway, it's a casual expression people use, makes sense. But I'm just saying that, what makes sense? If one thinks this is all making sense, then continue. But when Vedanta says that, array, this is samsara, what is a human life? Shankaracharya said so nicely in his Bhajagovindam. Shatrau mitre putre bandhav ma kuru yatnam vigraha sandhav. This enemy and the friend, the child and the relatives. Don't try to make up and patch up and please. What is there in that? One role one has to play, just play the role. That's finished. No, this person is not happy, so now go and do some extra thing and make up with that person. By the time somebody else is unhappy, do that, and then somebody else, and then in that feel victimize oneself. What about me? Who cares about me? So many things go on. Make up, break up, make up goes on and on and on. He says, how much energy one will waste in that? So then what to do? Sarvasminnapi pashyatmanam sarvatrotraja bheda jnanam. You just remove all this sense of psychological divisions. See the one self in all. The same self is there in my heart, is the self in the hearts of all. Treat people lovingly and focus on within. What they respond, how they respond, what they did, what they didn't do is up to them. It's their karma. Why should I bother? No, but I did so much for that person didn't do. So what? That is their karma. Am I bothered about that person's response or am I bothered about the self? Seeker is more bothered about the self, then forget the rest. And there is no selfishness in this. To realize the self is the highest pursuit. I have to go beyond my ego. No, that is called self-realization. So how is it selfish? And one person who awakens can awaken millions of people. So all the more, that's the need of the hour. No? To become fearless is the need of the hour. So much violence happening in the world is all because of what? Some body identification, color of the skin, pigmentation of the skin, some nationality, some religion, some community, some wealth. It goes on. That samsara will go on like that. And do I want to continue? Then I can continue. But if I look around and pause and see what is happening, is a madhouse. And it is not possible to set this entire house in order because so many uncontrollable forces are there. One can put one's effort to work for a worthy cause, selfless cause, try to make a difference, but one cannot be obsessed with that. One can use that as a means to purify. Karma Yoga is a sadhana to purify the mind. So do that much. But if I hope that this is going to change the whole universe and then everything will become all right, that is all idealistic. Nothing will happen. Because so many types of jivas are there, how much evolution each one has to go through. And everybody is not at the same level. So the roles one has to play. But the focus should be, I need to realize fearless Brahman and get out of this samsara where I'm trying to control people. Get out of that feeling of control. Get out of the feeling of clinging. That which is changing, I cannot cling to that. If I drop this control and clinging, automatically there will be quite a lot of peace that I can turn within. So that's why he says here, samsara bandhanat vimuchyate. This person has got free from samsara bandhan. So here and now, by removing the root cause of samsara, ignorance, that person has become free. Not by handling some temporary agitations and relief methods. No. By cure, by removing ignorance, this person has become free. Now what happens if the person does not become free? Na chet ashakat bodhum tataha unavabodhat, because one has not realized. Bodha means realization, the removal of ignorance and the self-knowledge. That is called, when self-knowledge rises, that is called bodha. He says unavabodha. Now the person doesn't have bodha, meaning has not woken up to self-knowledge. One may have done lot of karmas, lot of achievements, name, fame, glory, or one may have done lots of rites, rituals and got certain purity of mind also. But till this knowledge of the self doesn't rise intuitively, until the person doesn't destroy body identification through the samadhi, abhyas and other things, samsara bandhan will not go. The jiva bhav will be strong still. So that is what he says. Anavabodhat sargeshu. Then in this creation, srijyante yeshu srishtavyaha praninaha iti sargaha. Meaning, prithivyaadayoho lokaha. Teshu sargeshu lokeshu. so many lokas which are there, in which the jivas are created. Jivas are born to exhaust their karmas in different lokas. So in one Brahmanda, there are 14 lokas. There are multitudes of Brahmandas like that. In all of these, there are jivas. So now which loka one will go where and what type of birth one will get, etc., that is very unsure. Prithivyaadayo lokaha teshu sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya sharira bhavaya kalpate samartho bhavati shariram granhati iti artha. So then one becomes capable of, meaning one is eligible to take birth again and again. Why? Because some karma phala is there, which I have to still experience. I have not woken up to the state of pure consciousness. I am still a limited jiva. And as a jiva, I have done many karmas. Which karma is ready to give result? All those karmas put together, they are called my prarabdha karma for the next body. Now, where is that next body? When it will be? That is so uncertain. And in that human body one will get, that is most uncertain. Because the Upanishad only said earlier, no? Yatha karma yatha shrutam. As per the knowledge and as per the karma, action. The future birth, it can be anything. It can be plant, animal, bird, that is on earth. Or it can even be higher, Deva, Gandharva, Asura, Kinnara. Or it can be lower. Asura is not up. Asura is down. Deva, Gandharva, Yaksha, Kinnara, those are up. Asura, Rakshasa, all those are down. So now one goes in the cycle of birth and death. You see, this cycle of birth and death itself, if we think about it, can give enough vairagya. In the Gita, Bhagavan says that. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Again and again one should reflect upon the misery of these four. Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara, old age, Vyadhi, disease. How much all these four trouble us. And the strange part is the human being doesn't want to be free from this. Vyadhi maybe we want to be free from. Janma and Mrityu, no. One wants to come back again. Enjoy this world, explore more, new places, new forms, new relationships. One wants, because one doesn't realize what is the pain at the time of birth. At the time of death, again, leaving the body and going. So the more one thinks about that, more vairagya will rise. Then one says, enough, I want to stop this cycle of birth and death. How to stop this human life? This human life is called karma yoni. On the earth, this is the karma yoni where one can realize. And purushartha can be done and evolution can be speeded up. In other yonis, they are bhoga yonis. One cannot do anything. So better it is to strive here. This shloka is meant to create urgency, and whenever our mind becomes lazy, lethargic, postpone spiritual practices, doesn't want to, live in a certain self-control, discipline, then one has to say this, that if you do this here and now, liberation is here and now. Otherwise, one is bound while living and one is bound afterwards also. If somebody thinks I do whatever I feel like doing, that is bondage only, that is not freedom. One is a slave of one's own mind. One does not have capability to say no to the mind. Hero is one who says no to the mind when the mind is becoming uncontrollable or is leading us the wrong way. Then what to do? If I am not having control over my own mind, then that mind is my master. And I am a slave. So what freedom is that? But if I use these kind of verses to remind that this life is a most precious opportunity, let me put all the efforts and intense efforts to realize the self. Then I can live like this. Brahma Bodhum Avagantum. I can realize that Brahman. That's the glorious opportunity of this human life. Tasmat Sharira Visramsanat Prak Atma Bodhaya Yatnam Astheyaha. This is a conclusion. To realize the self, gain the self-knowledge here is the highest pursuit. And he says, before the body drops, get it. In the Gita, though Bhagavan says, even 1 minute before, last minute before one drops the body, even at that time, if you get abidance in the self, freed. Isha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Sthitvasyam Antakalepi. In the second chapter, last verse 72, he says that. Antakalepi, even at the last minute. That means what? Striving cannot stop. Sadhana cannot stop even till the last breath of the body. Antakala can also mean the death of the ego. But here, if we take it even as the death of the body, which means what? The sadhak is always in the mode of I am a sadhak, I am a seeker, I want to realize the self, and what I am doing right now, is it in line with that or not? If it is not in line with that, I should not do it, full stop. If I want Brahman, that is called Tivra Mumukshutva. That here and now I want Brahman. Not that I will get it after some few years. That is Manda. Then somebody says, no, next life I will get. That is Adhama. Mumukshutvam levels are there. Tivra Mumukshutvam, Manda Mumukshutvam, Adho Mumukshutvam, Adham Mumukshutvam, all that. So this Tivra Mumukshutvam is what is required. In every single choice of life, in eating, drinking, talking, walking, in every aspect. And of course, the mind is not fully pure yet, so one will make mistakes, one will fall, one will do things which are ego prompted, selfish desire prompted. But the moment one realizes, one has to learn the lessons out of it, carry on forward. Next time, not to repeat that. So it's a continuous process of working. What nowadays in people, in their language, they say, be the best version of yourself. What is the best version of yourself? Brahman is the best version of yourself. Whichever version of ego you bring, this version is a term in computer software, version. So they will have number for it. Windows 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, like that, Windows 10. Those are versions. So they keep modifying advanced features, new features. So the version keeps increasing, upgrading. Here we are not talking about upgrading the ego. Yes, to a certain level, ego can be made more sattvic, more purified, more single pointed. Then version stops. Transcendental leap. I am not the ego. That is the best so-called version. As long as I am the ego, my full potential is not there. I have not realized. What human being tries to do is to try to realize the maximum potential of the ego by thinking that maximum achievements I do, maximum power I get, maximum glory and fame I have, then maximum potential is realized. Vedanta says it's exactly opposite. Externally you may do what you want to do, but maximum potential of one is realized by going within. Having seen enough in the world outside, one who has Vairagya, who turns within and goes beyond the ego, that person realizes infinity. That is the best version. That is the maximum potential, because there is nothing greater than infinity. and that human life can achieve that. So now this mantra is about the sense of urgency, the uh, consistency in the sadhana, and unrelenting persistence. Till one doesn't realize one should not give up, this human opportunity is not easy to get. One should not say that, now to I am becoming old, now where is this life to mukti is not possible. So, chhod diya, next life we will see. No, one has to keep striving. No, but right now I'm becoming old, so I can't do so much of study and reflection. Nothing, just name. Bhagwan's name is enough. Chant Bhagwan's name with bhakti, bhav, shraddha, that's more than enough. And keep doing it. Then don't ask the question that, if I do one mala, is it enough? 24 hours, as much time as one can just remember the Lord, keep remembering. Because nothing else really is worth it apart from this. Even if I do seva, even if I do work at home, it should be Bhagavad seva. With that bhav, I do it. So the whole time the mind is absorbed either in the divine or in the Sakshi bhav, where the ego is really surrendered. It's not that the ego is a Sakshi. No. The ego is surrendered. One watches the ego, one withdraws from the ego. That is Sakshi. So live in that bhav of Sakshi all time, or in the bhav of Sharanagati and Seva of the Lord. Unrelenting persistence. That is an important quality. For that unrelenting persistence, a very nice example comes in the scriptural literature, that there was this bird, and this bird has laid some eggs on the seashore. Now the bird went to find some food. By the time the bird came back, the bird saw that, some huge wave has come and the eggs have gone into the ocean. Now this bird is wondering, where did the egg went in the ocean? So now you know what the bird tries? The bird takes one leaf in the beak, goes to the ocean, takes the water, comes on the ocean, the shores of the ocean, puts the water there. Again goes, again comes, again goes, again comes. And this bird is continuously at it. So the Garuda, the king of birds, is flying above and suddenly sees what this small bird is doing here. So Garuda comes and asks, what are you doing? So the bird narrates, this ocean has taken away my eggs. I am trying to empty the ocean because I need to find my eggs. So Garuda laughs inside, but Garuda says, do you think with this one leaf you will be able to empty this ocean? The bird says, this is what the best I can do, and I am going to do it because I want the eggs. And this bird is not stopping also to tell Garuda all this. The bird is continuously on the job. When she has to speak, she puts the leaf down, speaks, again picks the leaf, again goes. She doesn't wait for Garuda's response because the task is huge. Continuously trying to empty the ocean using one leaf. Just imagine in a bird's beak, what is the leaf size? Such a small bird with one small leaf is trying to empty the ocean. Garuda becomes so, he is moved by the determination of this bird. And Garuda goes above the ocean, flaps the wings very, swiftly, and as though the whole ocean will dry. So Varuna Devta comes out saying, what happened? Why are you so upset? He says, this bird's eggs have been taken away. Now you please return the eggs. And Varun Devta comes out with the eggs and the bird gets the eggs. Now that story is very symbolic. The symbolism of the story is powerful, that if human being is like the bird, whatever little purushartha I can do with unrelenting persistence, I have to do that purushartha. Ishwar Kripa will come. What seems impossible also will become possible. But when I am putting the effort, for me it should not seem impossible. For me it should be that I will put the effort that is required to empty the ocean. That bird had that faith that I will do it. Because the eggs are dear. How dear is Mukti to us? Is a question I have to ask. Why am I studying the Upanishad? Because I want Mukti? Or because I want intellectual information? Or because I want to tell people that, I have studied so many Upanishads? Or I want to give pravachan? What? If the bhav is that I want Mukti and I love Mukti, and for that Upanishad is the way, and what this is saying, I will try to immediately live in my life, apply in my life, and change my way of living, thinking. And one should have that hope that this will lead, because how many people have walked this path and realized? See, in the example of the bird there, the bird has no precedent. No other bird has ever done it. This bird is doing it on her own. In our case, there is so many precedents. There are so many masters who have walked this path, realized the truth, experienced and shared what they realized. And when we see what they realized, what the Upanishad says is same, is matching. So with tremendous Shraddha, one should just walk this path with unrelenting persistence. The motivation for this unrelenting persistence is the Shraddha and Mumukshutvam. That I want this. How badly I want moksha? That's the question. Having been born as a human being, how badly do I want moksha? In the world, that's what this is the language one uses for, getting goals. How badly you want it. If you want it badly enough, then you will put all efforts required for it. The same thing apply here. But instead of saying how badly one wants it, one asks how intensely one wants that. That bird was in love with her eggs and she wants it. There it is a finite example, the finite, the limitation of the example, because the eggs are her eggs. But the point here is we have to see the intensity, the longing and the determination that I will get it. So that determination, that unrelenting persistence comes when I ask myself, do I really want moksha? No, Swamiji, what if I find I really don't want moksha? Then find out what one really wants. No, my mind really wants pleasure only. I'm not talking about the impulsive mind. I'm talking about the seeker. What do I want as a seeker? If the desire for moksha even is there a little bit, of course, which will be there, because otherwise why will one come to Upanishad? Maybe it is covered with many other desires. So that example of, in the Havan Kund, when the fire becomes dim and the ash covers that fire, then the smoke will come out. Then one has to fan. The more one fans it, the fire will blaze. So worldly desires, worldly achievements, worldly talk, worldly things may have put this desire for moksha, it may have covered, as though one has to fan it. Do tapasya, do austerity, live in simplicity, try to control the senses, all that. Then this fire will become big. And that intense, the bigger that fire is, the more easily it will consume all the attachments and ignorance and fears and all that. More consistently one will seek the self. So this is human life and human possibility, that I can intensify my seeking. And so what if I don't realize in this life? Suppose it happens. So what? Whatever I have done, will it go for a waste? No. In the Gita, Bhagavan says that to Arjun. He says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. The doer of the good shall not come to suffer. And whatever one has acquired in this life, this will continue. Whenever one gets the next human birth, the jiva will continue from here only. Functionally, yes, the jiva may have to learn some things, but spiritually, psychologically, the same samskar will again continue. So the same intensity, everything will continue. So there is no fear of losing what one has acquired in this life, even spiritually. But the best option would be to say, I will realize here and now, this jiva neva. That's the first option. But for some reason, if it did not happen, leave it on the Lord. The Lord will ensure that whatever I have done so far, not a single thought will go for a waste. Vivekananda ji used to say that. Not a single thought will go for a waste. Thought has tremendous power. You know, some of his writings, if you read, in that what all he said, if you sit in one cave and continuously think intensely, the thought has the power to even explode that whole mountain. So don't underestimate the power of thought. So if intensely one wants something, one is also building the vasana for it, the karma for it, and one will continue. And Ishvara also will ensure that the appropriate satsang, etc. one gets, and that jiva will get mukti. That is job of Ishvara, that we have to leave to Ishvara. Like how the Garuda came and then the Varuna Devata came out and gave, that is the job of Ishvara, that Ishvara will do. Jiva has to put unrelenting persistence into this. Then the jiva will come to wake up, realize while living, or realize in the afterlife. Either one, realizes in the Brahma Loka, etc., or again come back to earth and continue the striving and then wake up. So that faith one must have. Now this mantra to next mantra, because now he said that, the jiva may take again and again bodies. So is there only one place where I can realize? So now see the connection. Yasmad iha eva atmano darshanam adarshasthasya eva mukhasya spashtam upapadyate na lokantareshu brahma lokad anyatra sacha dushprapaha katham. So now the mantra next will give an analogy. So that connection Shankaracharya ji has said here, that just like in a mirror one can see the reflection of the face very clearly, in that way this human body is like a mirror in which one can realize the self quickly. Not in any other worlds, only on Bhuloka in Manushya Yoni, not in any other worlds as clearly as one can realize here, except Brahma Loka, the highest, the seventh Loka above. Bhu is the first one here. Bhuva, Suvaha, Maha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. Seventh Loka, Brahma Loka. The world of Brahmaji, called also as Satya Loka. There Brahmaji will give the knowledge to the jiva at the time of pralaya, and the jiva gets mukti. But to get that Brahmaji, to get to Brahmaji's loka is very difficult. That's why he says dushprapa. Such a dushprapa is very difficult to get. So where will one get the janma? That is uncertain, but only possibilities of realization are two. One is either realize right here and now, that is Jivan Mukti, that is best option. Or realize in Brahma Loka, that is called Krama Mukti. In these two worlds, realization is most easy to get. Because the human yoni and Manushya yoni on this earth, one can get vairagya, one will see dukkha, one will see sorrow, pain, misery. At the same time, one has the capability of putting purushartha, speed up the evolution. So human yoni in Manushya loka is one possibility. In the other worlds, there are other things which are binding. What are some of those? That the next mantra tells us. The next mantra is in prose. There is no meter in that. Yatha darshe tathatmani, yatha swapne tatha pitruloke, yathapsu pariva dadrishe, tatha gandharva loke, chaya tapayoriva brahma loke. So now examples are given of different lokas. Yatha adarshe tatha atmani. On this bhuloka, when a person cultivates the pure intellect and pure mind and a sharp, subtle intellect, then yatha adarshe tatha atmani. In that way, one will realize the self within. Yatha swapne tatha pitruloke. In pitruloka, so this pitruloka is also called yamaloka. So it is the bhuvar loka, and little above that is the pitruloka. Above that is the Swarga Loka, the Bhuvar Loka. So this Bhuloka 1 and Bhuvar Loka is the next one. In between Bhuloka and Bhuvar Loka and the Suvar Loka. Third is Suvar Loka. So this Bhuvar Loka also has Pitru Loka inside it, which we call as the world of the ancestors. So the Jiva goes there, and then from there goes to wherever one has to go, according to the karma. So he says, in Pitruloka can I realize? He says, you can realize in other lokas, but very difficult. How? The example given is Yatha Swapne, just like in a dream. The dream, when one wakes up from the dream, is just a hazy memory. One is nothing tangible, you can't grasp. In that way, the existence there is like a dream. It's not how we experience a certain sense of reality here, as well as the Purushartha, Kshamata, etc., which is there. Those things are not there. Elaboration will come in the commentary, so I will take up that time. Right now, just the meaning of the analogy. Yatha swapne tatha pitruloke. Yatha apsu pariva dadrishe. Just like in the water, one sees the reflection. Tatha gandharva loke. So one is seeing, the water which is color, water and all that. Then the reflection will not be very clear. In Gandharva Loka, one is filled with all these sense enjoyment, sense pleasure, music, dance, all that. So there is extrovertedness tremendously. So if the water is so much, is not still, it is not pure, then how to see the reflection? So yatha apsu pariva dadrishe, tatha gandharva loke, chaya tapayoriva brahma loke. In Brahma Loka, like light and darkness are so clear. In that way, it will become very, very clear that Brahman alone is our true self, and one drops the ignorance by Brahmaji's Upadesh. So the point to understand here is that only Brahmaloka is the other possibility. Oh, there is other possibility like that, then best, I will take that. The purpose of saying this whole thing is not to say to postpone moksha. That already shows that there is enough laziness and tamas in one's life, that one is ready to postpone moksha. The idea is to make the best of this loka, that what a great opportunity it is. Yatha darsha, yatha darshe tatha atmani. That's the example given. In a mirror, how quickly we see the reflection. Mirror is clean and we see the reflection immediately. That way we purify our mind here and now, instant realization will happen. So Tivra Mumukshu will want here and now. There is Manda, Madhyam and this Adham Adhikari. That one will say that, no, okay, Brahma Loka we will see then. Then what will you do here? Eat, drink and enjoy. Then the Mumukshutvam is not there. One has to put the effort. So it is to intensify Mumukshutvam only, this is said. It is not to postpone. So more of that we will take up in our next class. Anything in today's session? Any questions, any doubts? You are welcome to ask or share.
Swamiji, Hari Om, Nisha here.
Haji.
So, so if we say that the consciousness is sort of just there, in the sense consciousness itself is not doing anything, it's just there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that itself is not doing anything. But then on the other hand, when we say that, like say, and then consciousness, say, is equivalent to God. But then when we say that, like say, what we were discussing just now is that if you put in all the effort, you do what you have to do, then Ishwar will put the opportunities in your path.
Yeah.
But then if we're saying that Ishwar is only means consciousness and Ishwar are interchangeable, and that if you, so at one point we're saying that you have to do everything, consciousness is there. Yeah. That itself is not going to do anything. It's just there. But on one side, if we're saying that actually then God will put everything in the right and give you opportunities or will sort of make it happen for you, then how do the two correlate?
So there are two levels, right? One level is, as you said, level of pure consciousness, which is absolute truth, where there is no world also. There consciousness is akarta. Consciousness is, there is no duality there. So that is what we call as Brahman. In Brahman, there is no Jagat, there is no Jiva, there is no Ishvara. That is Brahman. But that Brahman only, because I am identified with a Jiva, with this body, so I am a Jiva, then there is a Jagat. So if there is a Jiva and there is a Jagat, there has to be a Ishvara. Now who is that Ishvara? That Brahman, using the power of Maya, has become Ishvara. So as long as Jiva exists, Ishvara exists. The moment the Jiva Bhav goes, Ishvara Bhav also goes. One realizes, oh, there was only one consciousness. So these are only two different levels. So as a Jiva, if I am striving, then Ishvara is there who is giving the karma phala. Ishvara is the karma adhyaksha, karma phala data. So an Ishvara will give as per the Jiva's karma and purushartha. If I say that I am not the Jiva, in contemplation I am trying to negate. And when I finish that negation completely, experience samadhi, in that no Ishvara, no Jiva, no Jagat, there is only one consciousness. So that is the reconciliation between. There are only two levels. It's like the waker has woken up. The dreamer has woken up. If the dreamer has woken up, then the dream world, the dream characters and the dream entity, everything gone. But while the dreamer is in the dream, then there is a dream creator who is created the whole dream world, and there is a dream world and there is a dream character, then that is real there. But even while those three are appearing, the fact is the waker is lying on the bed doing nothing. So even when Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara are being experienced, the fact is Brahman is not the doer. Brahman is as it is and there is no creation at all. Nothing has happened. So these are two different levels, and it is up to us. If we rise to the higher level, then this duality disappears. That's why he said in the mantra, Brahma avabodhum. The one has to know that Brahman. then the cycle of birth and death will cease. Why? Because the whole Srishti only ceases. For that, the jiva who wakes up will realize that there is only one Brahman.
But then on this path, so like say if we are obviously, I mean, we're far from anything of that kind, but if you're like as a seeker, then how, I mean, you so say theoretically the knowledge is there that okay, there is a Brahman and there's consciousness and all of that. Obviously it's not got imbibed in our lives to in that sense. So somewhere in the middle, so how would you then think, do you think that I
So
mean, then are you thinking of it as God, or are you thinking of it as consciousness, which is?
So that's why I said both possibilities, right? One is surrender. So one is if I have a very strong jiva bhava, a sense of ego is very strong, then I surrender to Ishvara, because there is Ishvara. There is no question. See, there is no denial of Ishvara in this. If jiva exists, Ishvara exists, and both of them are actually that one Brahman. One is totality, one is individuality. It's Brahman only. But because today I don't experience that Brahman very clearly, I think of myself only as a jiva, and that jiva bhav is very strong. So then I must surrender to Ishvara. If the jiva bhav has become weaker, then even in that situation I can surrender, there is no doubt. But then it is possible to even stay as a sakshi if one wants to do that as a other path, the jnana marg. Otherwise the bhakti marg is surrender. So then remain as a sakshi, saying that I am not the jiva, I am sakshi, and the nature of sakshi is pure consciousness, which is the illuminer, and illuminer never gets affected by whatever it illumines. That sakshi is that Brahman only. So the sadhana part is this: surrender to Ishvara or contemplate on one's own Swarupa as Brahman, or remain as a Sakshi, whichever one. Either I can, through the day I can say I am the Sakshi while doing all activities. In the meditation also I can say I am Sakshi of whatever comes and whatever doesn't come. If there is no thoughts also I am the Sakshi. Or one can say that I am meditating on Sakshi as my nature, which is Sat Chit Anand. If I do either of these, then the waking up will happen.
Okay, Swamiji, thank you. Hari Om.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah.